leading people and helping people begin to stop sitting back and say, I'm going to watch and see what happens. I'm going to watch and see what happens. The Hillary Clintons and the Bushes and all the other powers, people that have come to power in this country, have been through money and wealth, power, and that's how you come to the top. But what about real, rightly dividing and loving, caring people coming to power? And I don't see that happening.
You made some great points there. And you know, one of the things you said that I really like, that is how I feel, is that, you know, everybody that's had a chance to run the world is screwed up. And for example, you know, China's been this rising power. You see how badly they treat their people. But, you know, one of the interesting things that I've recognized, that I strongly believe, is that, you know, if I were George Soros, if I were the Koch brothers, if I were a Rockefeller or a Rothschild or one of these oligarchs, and I was ever worried about somebody threatening my money and power, you know, what I would do to take the attention away from me is I would promote identity politics. I would try to get people like maybe you and me fighting and hating each other. I would pit black against white, male against female, rich against poor, you know, religious against non-religious, and keep everybody divided 1,000 different ways. And like a magician, while everybody's looking at the right hand, right, it's what's going on with the left hand. And while we're all looking at the right hand with the left hand, you know, we have people promoting policies, degenerates promoting policies that are bad for the rest of the entire world, and in the end are going to lead to our doom. And so I've become very, to me, very concerned with the divisions, because even if some of these people have the best of intentions, ultimately they're playing into the hands of these oligarchs. And for some of these people, you know, I at least hope they're getting paid for it, because the only people they're doing, you know, they're only doing the bidding of these corporate masters. So I hope they're getting paid. And it's one of the big problems, you know, it's why, you know, I don't really focus a lot of negative energy and attention on, you know, the average person that might disagree with me politically or might have a different belief system, because I realize that, you know, they're really not the problem. And where I should be focusing my energy is on the people that promote all these policies that I don't like, you know, and that have created problems. And as long as, you know, Americans or, you know, or you know, people from other parts of the world are just focused on fighting each other, you know, nothing ever gets done. Like, you know, they did something really important in Hungary, which is that, you know, they kicked George Soros and his non-governmental organizations out of Hungary because they saw what he was doing. They see that he's trying to destroy Europe. They see that he's a narcissistic sociopath. And so instead of Orban and that government, you know, fighting against and you know, the portions of the population that don't support the government, you know, they are working towards going towards the root of the problem. And that's what we need to do here. Like, you know, why aren't we looking at Jeff Bezos? Why aren't we looking at the Koch brothers? Why aren't we spending a lot more time worrying about George Soros and which country's currency is going to collapse through currency speculation? I mean, why aren't we looking at, you know, the 100 wealthiest people? Why aren't we looking at Wall Street and Silicon Valley? Because, you know, the source of most of our problems comes from that. I mean, even if somebody is listening to your show and they would say, I hate everything this guy's saying, I mean, my ability to impact somebody's life is nil. And, you know, I'm not the one that's putting these policies in place. So I think it's a very important. Humanity has a lot more in common than not, and there are more of us than there are of them. And the one thing we have that's our biggest strength is our numbers. But if our numbers are dispersed, you know, we're fighting each other, and we'll never get anywhere.
Mm-hmm. There's a young lady that is running for the governor of Southern State, and I'm wondering. I posted on Facebook this morning, how long before Fox News, in particular, and those that supposedly be thinking that they are Christians and they are right, start attacking her and tearing her down?
Who are you talking about? And what state are you from? Sorry.
Hold on just a minute. I had it queued up just for a minute there, and then I lost it. But I'm going to see if I can find it again here in a minute. But anyway, the young lady is running for the governor. And I'm just wondering how long before the powers that be the ones that somehow believe that blacks, Mexicans, and Puerto Ricans, or whoever, somebody that's not white, it has no right to be in power. And tell me this, from your perspective, why is it this skin color thing of white right, black wrong, brown skin wrong? And here's another thing. I really believe after President Barack Obama left office, they didn't care who was in the office as long as a white person. That's just my really personal opinion about it. You said it was policy.
Yeah, I was completely comfortable. I voted third party and write-in candidates in the last 3 elections before that, and I was completely comfortable doing that again if it was anybody other than Trump, and I voted for Trump for 3 reasons, because I felt that we'd have a better chance of staying out of wars, and that would include staying out of war with Russia. He'd probably do something to correct our trade grievances and bring fair trade, and he'd probably secure our borders. Those are the 3 reasons why. I didn't care about tax cuts. I cared about those other 3 issues. And I think those 3 issues I talk about affect every person in this country, unless you're an oligarch, negatively, regardless of what your skin color or religion or gender is. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of people like that. I knew a lot of people that were very comfortable going, before it was clear that Trump could win. They were very comfortable with the idea of either not voting or voting a third party.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing that propelled Trump into power. The mindset of humanity. Humanity that did not believe that anybody that talked about grabbing a woman in the crotch. The mindset of humanity just did not believe anybody that openly did what President Donald Trump did prior to him being elected would be elected. But here's what they forgot. What they forgot was that the mindset of humanity had degraded itself. It has degraded itself to the point where I don't give a shit who is in that, as long as it's different than Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama.
Well, but see, I could come back and argue that. But I could come back and argue that, for example, Bill Clinton, you had numerous women not accuse him of extramarital affairs, but women like Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey accused him of rape and accused Hillary Clinton of the one that was bullying these things into silence. And so, again, it's context. Now, I think what Trump said was despicable, but he wasn't. But what he said was they let you grab them. I thought it was despicable. But if that's the game we're going to play, well, then I got to look at the opposition. And I don't agree with the identity politic thing the way you're framing it. A lot of people are worried about survival and about whether or not they're going to have a job. Like if you worked in a steel mill before those tariffs that Trump put on steel, which the whole establishment was crying about, including a lot of people on Fox, those people working in the steel mills were going to lose their jobs. It's bread and butter issues. If Obama had been a good president with good policy, great. And the Democrats probably would have gotten another president. But, 98% of the wealth went to the top 1% income earners under the Obama administration. So to me, to say that it was because of skin color when, wait a minute, 98% of the income gains went to the top 1% income earners, I do not agree with that. And from my point of view, as somebody, I don't consider myself right-wing or ultra-Christian, but I am Catholic, and I'm a proud Catholic, a far from a perfect Catholic. I mean, what does the Democratic Party offer me? I look at it as they have extreme hostility towards Christians and people of faith. They don't respect the rights of the unborn. All they do is play identity politics because they can't run on policy because they don't have good policy. They support open borders. They're quite comfortable, now with Antifa and these other groups of condoning and promoting violence, and they want to abolish ICE. And if you abolish ICE, you're abolishing the group that does more to fight child and sex trafficking at the border than anybody else does. And you're saying that we don't have the right to have borders. So, and not only that, what I see in my lifetime is they're just as hawkish and militaristic as Republicans.
Let me ask you this. Those things that you just spoke of, the things that you just spoke of, say for instance like abortion. A woman and a man conceive a child.
Yeah.
The rightful way to conceive that child is in the bonds of wedlock. In society, the majority of people of all races and all colors are having babies and sex any kind of way they can. They don't care, as long as they get to the point of the whole and do what they want to do. And that children are resulting of it. But in the cases where a man and a woman is concerned about that life which they have conceived, and I'm of the opinion that if you go to the point that you conceive life, you should allow that life to come, because you don't know what God's going to do with that life. It's all throughout history and all throughout the Bible, God uses who he wants to, just like David and Bathsheba. But having the same token, when that woman conceives a child and is at a point, even if it's endangering her life or endangering the child is whatever, her decision and that man's decision about that child, that's entirely up to them and to God. How in the world can you and I, on the external, other than the fact that we believe that the life should come forth regardless of what condition the life is in, that's all we got. It is up to that person and their God. We can pray about it, we can talk about it, we can teach about it, but we can't control what they do. That's up to them and between them and God. They have a mind, that you hope, that relate to their God and their creation and who God is and the impact of their life. That's up to them. And this thing about somebody is all about killing children, that's bull. That's between the person and the other person. It ain't got nothing to do with no society. Society getting into what it ain't got no business getting into. Let God handle his business and you handle yours. That's what the problem is. I'm not against a person that has a child and they wrestle with it between them and God, and they come to some kind of relationship between their creator and what to do about that child before it's born. They have the answer for that. All I can do is pray for them and hope them make a right decision in relationship to how God wants them to do, what the will of God is. I can't control them. That's a myth. That's a thing that you guys use to beat people over the head to say that they're for abortion. And it's not true. You see what I'm getting at? It's
I see what you're getting at. When you read about the description of what goes on in an abortion, or if you ever see pictures of the aborted babies,
I just know what
you can't
do.
say that's life. Now, if it's
wrong.
at risk to the mother's health, I don't think anybody's going to argue. Very few people are going to argue that the mother doesn't have the right to protect her life. On that instance, I would agree. But I mean, I don't see. I just can't. I mean, to me, life begins at conception. The heartbeat starts 3 weeks in. I mean, you see now with the sonograms, the development of a baby, 8-10 weeks in. I just don't see how we can't call it life. I mean, what is it that we're tacitly condoning or supporting if we're going to be supporting abortion? And in a lot of cases, abortion being supported well past the first trimester. But even in the first trimester, I mean, you see the development of a baby. This is not me making any kind of a religious argument. It's just, I've seen pictures of sonograms of 6 and 8 week babies, and I think, my God, I mean, it looks human to me. It really looks human to me. And then you read about what they do, about how they put a needle in the spine. I mean, it just seems to me to be extremely barbaric and hard to morally justify.
Let me say this. We agree on the point of the sanctity and